Hey guys, Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training. Getting towards the end of the day. We just went out and fed the dogs and scooped some poop and did my kennel run. I'm thinking about things because I've got Deanna went out from the plane today to New York. She's getting picked up by her owner probably pretty much now, coming off the plane. And I've got Diogi, and then I've got Lucifer, who's still here. Diogi, high drive dog with a potential to go to the street or personal protection or any sport, that kind of, depending on how he's built and the experience of somebody who's working with him. That's what matters, right? It's all about the dog is a product of two things. His genetics is a big part of it, but the major part of it, as far as I'm concerned, and you've heard me say this many times before, is 60-40. 60% is all about the person that owns the dog and the environment that they set up and their knowledge base behind them, right? That being the case, I'm really particular about placing my dogs because too many dogs end up getting placed and they end up in the wrong hands. People get tired of them, don't know what they've gotten into, and then within a year or so, that dog goes to the pound. I'll just go to the pound, see how many Malinois are there right now. And that's a dog that's a peg down from the Dutch Shepherd. The Dutch Shepherd's intensity is another peg up. And they've got a whole myriad of propensities that they're known for. And that's why they're a hell of a dog, but they require somebody that has a little bit of knowledge in dog psychology and understands really what they're getting into with a working dog. Otherwise, the dog is destined for failure and end up in a pound, okay? And that really bugs me, okay? It's something that I've tried my best to make sure that I don't have happen. A litter or so ago, I sold a dog to a person that was not qualified. They ended up bringing the dog back to me, claiming a heart murmur, this kind of bullshit, and that's what it was, bullshit. The vets are going to tell you what you want to hear. And people don't understand that a lot of times puppies have heart murmur. They're also one of the most common things for puppies to have is that little hernia, that little bubble in between the stomach. 90% of the time, it goes away with the growth of the dog, right? The growth of the dog, boom, kind of covers that over and it's gone, right? And it's not anything major. It's something the dog can live with and have no major problems for the most part, okay? So just because it has a little bubble on its thing, they call it a hernia, and the vets make big money on this. What they basically do is they make you feel like you need to get a surgery, right? And then they charge you for the surgery, and they blame the breeder. Yeah, it's all his fault. And then the customer comes back on the breeder, and you have a major problem. Heart murmurs are very similar to that. Unless they're a major situation, most of the time they're not. They're just a very small little indication. And the vet will talk you into surgery, and now you've got upsold, right? That's what they're doing. They upsell you, and now you're ending up with a major vet bill, and of course you're going to go back on the breeder, and that's just part of what we've got to deal with. So in this case, she ended up getting the vet to give her what she wanted, which is a letter telling me that I had a dog with a heart murmur. Sold the dog to another person. The dog's got a great life. People love the dog. This is an experienced dog person that's been around vets and understands how the situation is. And I'm not saying that all vets are bad, but the industry as a whole, they're trying to run a business, right? And so if they can upsell you, they're going to do it. Right? And if you have ignorance and lack of understanding of animal husbandry, and you don't have really a common sense in making sound decisions, they're going to take advantage of that, okay? I just recently, and I don't want to tell that story, but I just recently had a situation where somebody had an older dog that ended up getting bone cancer. They did an amputation on this dog, and the dog was in a lot of pain. The dog was much older, and it was, the heart of the person was in the right place to try to do this. But reality and truth is, when your animals get to a certain stage, it is a sad fact of life that we've got to make tough decisions, okay? And that's something you deal with. And I'll give you an example of that from a story from me, the pain that I went in losing a dog that I had for 14 years. I had a dog that was given to me from Caesar Milan. Caesar was a friend of mine, a very good friend from the Dog Whisperer, and we had a friend in common that was a breeder of Malinois. And she had a bitch, or a male, whatever, the two dogs that she had matched up. One of them had epilepsy, and so it had seizures. And she got to the point where she was assessing these puppies that came out of this litter, and she decided she didn't want to take the chance that these dogs would end up having seizures and be a problem. She wanted the dogs put down. So those are some of the tough decisions you got to make as a breeder, right? So she gave him to Caesar to go ahead and have him take him to the vet and have the dogs put down. Caesar couldn't do it. He brought him over to my house, and there was one named Thunder and one named Lightning. And Lightning was very reactive and prone to just be very aggressive. And he ended up being so much of a problem that I couldn't fix it. I ended up giving back to Caesar. And I kept Thunder. Thunder, when he came in the house, Thunder and Lightning came in the house, Thunder jumped on my bed and said, "You're mine." In other words, I was his, right? And that bond was almost immediately between the two of us. And so I took Thunder and I raised him and did all kinds of fancy stuff with him. And if you ever talk to Caesar, ask him about who's Thunder, okay? He'll tell you. Because Thunder was something special. He did a lot of different things. All kinds of my creativity went into, because that's the only dog I had at the time when I was around Caesar. So we were doing a lot of bite work, believe it or not. If you don't know that Caesar used to do bite work, he used to be real heavy into it. And in my estimation, he was one of the best decoys as far as animation that I've met. He had some other things, a lot of scuttlebutt. The rumors are everywhere. It's just a very close-knit community that we have. So he suffers a lot of abuse in this respect, but once he got into the movie stuff, or the TV, he has a whole group of people that take care of him. Their job is to protect the brand. His brand is important to them because they're making money off that brand. So he's got a film crew, he's got all this stuff that he needs, and he's a totally different approach, because now it's all wrapped around the angle and the slant that they put that show together for. Right? You don't see him talking about bite work. You see him talking about a lot of different other things to educate people. So Thunder got older. I had him until he was about 14 years of age, and he finally started getting to a point where he was incontinent. He couldn't hold his bowels. He couldn't walk without falling down and fouling himself all the time. It got to be a point where it was time, and it hurts. It hurts a lot. I had to realize that, and I took the dog down to the vet and I had him put down. It hurt. It hurt so bad, because that dog was with me for a lot of years, 14 years, with a lot of my life around Caesar and doing a lot of dog stuff, and it tore me apart. And before that, as a kid, I avoided that. How did I avoid it? By when the dog got to 6, 7, 8 years old, and I knew they were going to get older, and I was a kid, so I was going bouncing all over the place, right? Rental here, getting a place to live here, that's part of being a kid. And so I ended up getting the dogs that I had that were getting a little older a good home. So Princess, my Australian Shepherd cattle dog that I had, that was a circus dog, she did all kinds of tricks, and I had over 250 words that I taught her. She got a little older. I found good friends of mine to give her a good home with kids and the whole 9 yards. She had a great life, after she left me. My Shepherd, I did the same thing with, right? Sergeant was his name, and he was the one that got me into bite work and got me into the trade in general. But at a certain age, 6, 7 years old, and with the inconvenience of trying to find a place for a dog and all that, I was smart enough to realize that I didn't want to face the pain of the end years, right? And so I found him a good home, right? And that's kind of how I dealt with it when I was younger. As I got a little older, I started to feel that it was my responsibility to go through that pain, to be there for the dog, and to make that decision when the time was there, and to put the dog down, right? So in the regards to Dutch Shepherds and what I've got in my breeding, my genetics, right? They're high drive dogs. They've got propensities for a lot of different things that if you're not knowledgeable, you're not going to be able to know how to handle. If you're not around dog people that are going to be able to counsel you and help you and get you pointed in the right direction, you're going to have a problem. And that dog will probably be with you for a year or so, and boom, those problems are going to come to a point where you're going to say to hell with it, and you're going to take the dog to the pound, you're going to get it, or you're going to try to rehome him, whatever. It's not fair to the animal, right? I want real working dog people that can do something with this animal, that the animal is going to go somewhere with the genetics that I bred to do a job, right? That's what they've been bred for. I've got Lucifer is a lot more low-key, a lot more, can he do protection work? Sure he can, if you build him right. But he's a little bit more even-keeled, to a point where I think that he would probably be good for a family, and I'd like to find somebody that wants to get into working dog stuff, maybe Schutzhund or whatever, and raise him in a family. He's going to have a little bit less of an edge, right? Diogi, on the other hand, probably is going to go to something like PSA, heavy dog person that's really into working dogs, that really wants to do something with an animal, or police, right? That's the type of dog he is. He's just a lot more tenacity, a lot more ability to do the job and go the whole way to the areas that I go into. What I get into is high degree of working dogs. That's what I'm into. So I have started to do this where I have interviews with all my people. I want to get to know you. I want to see who you are. I want to talk and find out what's going to happen with that animal in his lifestyle for your lifestyle. And I usually don't sell to anybody unless I have that happen, right? So if you're interested in any of these dogs, realize you're going to do an interview with me. I'm going to get to know you. I'm going to try to figure out where your head's at and what your experience level is. Okay, that assures me that these dogs with this high degree of propensities and developmental ability to go to a very high degree in a working dog sense are going to get the right homes. Okay, so if I put you through the grinder in that respect and it makes you feel a little offish, don't feel bad. Okay, a lot of people feel that way. They feel almost kind of offended, right? But reality and truth, it's not about you. It's about the dog, okay? It's about what they get to be able to take them all the way up to the highest of potential that they've got and to have a good home that's going to appreciate this degree of a dog, right? And then it's the sad part of our society that we have a throwaway society. A lot of people get into it and they want to get a dog, they love the color, and they go out and they buy the dog like it's a toy. And then the dog goes in the backyard and they don't ever do anything with the dog, and the dog suffers. In the end, no matter what happens, if you don't have the skill, you don't have the ability to go to those levels, or you don't have the people around you to be able to see. I've got one guy that didn't have that experience level, but he had one of the top dog trainers in LA, and he's working in and around this high degree people that I won't tell you the names, but these are people that I respect in working dog community. In the sports and in protection, these people are people that I respect. So this person was referred by this other trainer, and I took that referral as knowing that he was going to have his back covered, and he's done a great job with that dog. The dog's getting towards Schutzen. He's ready to do a BH, and he's going to try to maybe do a BH and a Schutzen 1 on the same day. He's working hard at it, you know. But I mean, this is what the dogs are meant to do. This dog's going to go all the way. And that's a neat thing, you know. Even if he only puts a 1 on the dog, it doesn't matter. He's learned enough to be able to handle the dog. He understands and accepts the responsibility, and he's doing it, right? So that's the kind of customer I'm looking for. And more importantly, it's not about me. It's about the dog, guys. And if you don't have that experience level, if you don't have that expertise, you got a problem, because I won't sell you a dog if I realize that. I'll ask you the questions, and I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for a lot of years, and you'll show your whole card. I'll know it, right? So don't kind of try to come and bullshit your way through getting a dog from me, because it's not going to work. Remember, the dog is the one that's going to suffer. So just keep it in mind. All right, enough of that yak session and me going on and on and on, but I'm emotionally in the middle of some things right now, and the dogs are a big part of it. So take it with a grain of salt and realize it's just another yak session from Mark. I thank you very much. You guys have a good day. Thank you. If you're interested in the dog, get a hold of me. If you've got the qualifications, all the better. If you think you don't have those qualifications, learn, right? Get out there and learn and do whatever you can to realize what you're going to get into if you get a dog like this. Because you're going to probably come to the point where you realize that maybe the dog's too much for you. That's what I try to do when I do these interviews. I try to educate you, teach you, give you enough knowledge so you can make a sound decision, step back and say, is this something I really want to get into? I've had a couple of I know I was going to hang up, but let me go ahead and finish this. I've had a couple of people that have come at me in other litters. And I basically, when I find out that they don't have the experience level that's going to be beneficial to the dog, I actually turn them towards clubs. Go out and sit on the bench. Go get to know people and ask questions, learn, get around a club, a Schutzen club or something like that, and get out there and start talking to them about the different dogs and learn enough that you really understand what you're getting into with a dog of this high caliber, okay? Because it's really no joke. The dogs are a lot of work. And these dogs are a lot of work and a lot of knowledge to understand how to handle things. If you don't have that knowledge, you're going to run into problems, okay? So keep it in mind. I thank you very much. You guys have a good day. Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training, signing off.